Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 32 male, am one of 3 children, but the only one still single. A few months ago, my parents moved in with me because my dad had gambled away their money and eventually needed to sell their house. When I heard of it, I offered to get them into a retirement home close to their old neighborhood because they're old and I thought this would be an easier transition. They would be around their friends and still maintain their independence to a certain degree. My parents turned down that idea and insisted on moving in with me. They assured me that it would only be a maximum of 3 months as they get back on their feet. I thought that sounded reasonable since my house is quite big. So they moved in and at first it was okay. My mom insisted on making me homemade meals. I watched the games with my dad. The house was always in good shape and life was easy. About 3 weeks in, they suddenly started establishing some parental dominance. They complained about my lifestyle, that I was staying out too late, working too hard, eating a lot of unhealthy food and more. They wanted to monitor my movements, the people I was hanging out with, and whatever else I got to doing. Then my mom also started making changes to the house. It started out as small things such as light fixtures and window treatments. Then she was selling my furniture and replacing it with things she preferred, all the while expecting me to pay for it. It was all getting on my nerves, so I decided to have a chat with them. I reminded them that they were at my place as guests, and even went on to ask about their long-term plans since they had overstayed their 3-month deadline. My mom got really emotional about it, and they both said I was treating them like burdens. And a good child would be more supportive since they were trying to make the best of a hard situation. After that meeting, I assessed my spending and found I couldn't keep up with the way I was going. I decided to downsize. I put the house up for sale, had it staged while my parents were visiting my other siblings, and finally bought a studio apartment. I figured this move would encourage my parents to finally agree to the retirement house. I got a buyer recently and had to tell my parents that I had sold the house and we all needed to move. They were so pissed. They made a scene and called me all sorts of names, selfish, entitled, heartless. I told them the decision had already been made, reminded them about the retirement home, and hoped they would just move on. Instead, they got the rest of the family to gang up against me. My siblings have been calling, asking me to reconsider. I have stood my ground. Am I the a-hole? I have to be more mindful of how I spend my money before I also end up homeless. Update. I packed up the house, sold some extra items and moved into my studio. So far, this place has been very manageable. It took my parents a while to get on board, but they finally saw things from my perspective. Also, a few of their friends have moved into a retirement home and they have been telling them how nice it actually is. So they called and told me they would take up my offer to pay, but I told them that the offer no longer stands. I have committed my money to other things. When they asked where they would live, I told them to go stay with my other siblings as they sort things out. I feel I have done my part in taking care of them, and someone else can now. You're not the a-hole, OP. You've done your part. I agree that it's time for your other siblings to pitch in. Your parents took advantage of you and they even grew a sense of entitlement for it. All they had to do then was consider the retirement home like you told them, but instead, they moved in with you and instead of respecting your home, they wanted to treat it as if it were theirs. You did the best you can, OP. That should be enough. Story 2. I'm a new mom to an almost 5-month-old and her safety and health are my tippy-top priority. My mother is not exactly of the same mindset with her first grandbaby. She says that the baby needs to be exposed to as much as possible, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. By exposed, she means the following: licking her pacifier to clean it when it falls on the floor. I just wash it. But she's admitted to doing this when I was a baby and to my baby when I'm not around. I was pissed. Bringing her outside when there's high pollen so she doesn't develop allergies. Bringing her outside without sunscreen or her hat on sunny days. Letting our German Shepherd lick all over her hands, feet and head. Just pouring water over her and not using soap to bathe her. Those are just a few that really bother me. She claims her logic is from being a hillbilly. I think it's from stupidity. Anyways, my husband was away yesterday for a family event and I stayed behind with the baby. My mother really wanted to come over, so she and my dad did in the evening. She saw I had some dirty bottles and some clean ones and asked if she could wash them. I told her no. I know how to do it and she half-asses it. There's all these little pots and she doesn't scrub them out. She begged and said she would do it how I do it. I was tired and said okay, sure. I showed her how to do it. She asked specifically what soap do I use. I pointed to and lifted up the bottled soap. I told her to only use that. Well, she didn't. And like I feared, she didn't wash my baby's bottles right and re-washed the clean ones. There was milk crude in all the parts, and when I picked up one to look at it, all I could smell was florals. The baby soap is unscented. She used our regular dish soap that's heavily perfumed. I was pissed. I texted her and told her she completely went over my head and pushed my wants aside. She told me I was ungrateful for her help, and soap is soap. I told her never to touch one of my baby's bottles again, and she called me a fat bitch. Am I the a-hole here? I'm upset she didn't listen to me and put my baby's health at risk. But my dad is trying to convince me it's not a big deal, but it is to me. OP, to be honest, some of her ideas are more accurate, like about pollen allergies and exposure, as well as regular dish soap is fine. For the pacifier, not washing the bottles enough, and no sun protection hat, she is wrong. Babies raised exposed to dirt and germs tend to be more resilient. Over time, you will probably lighten up a bit. First-time mom with an infant and you're bound to be anxious, so it's understandable. But you should be open to ideas that aren't just yours. Calling her idea stupid sounds way too condescending, especially when she's not completely wrong. Calling you fat is where she crosses the a-hole line, as well as not respecting your decisions. Now for some comments. Everyone sucks here. I absolutely understand what you are trying to do, but it's extreme. Unless your baby has existing health issues. Babies do need to be introduced to some things to build their immune system, but they also need sunscreen and clean bottles. If any dish is properly rinsed, it won't matter what soap is used. You need to come down to extremes, and your mom needs a little bit of education on current child-raising matters. For reference, I have a 19-month-old, and I tried doing things the way you are currently doing them, and I was exhausted, and my kid was always sick. Since I calmed down, I'm happier, and the kid has had one cold, including being in daycare 3 to 4 days a week. Not the a-hole. First of all, anyone who calls her daughter a fat bitch is automatically an a-hole. But as far as the help she's offering, it is actually the opposite of helpful. Not only do you need to wash everything again, but you have to deal with the frustration she has caused because you were expecting a bit of relief and now you have to do everything anyways. And on top of that, you have the added frustration of knowing that she specifically asked which soap to use and then deliberately used the other one, heavily scented one. It doesn't matter if she thinks you're too clean, it is your home and your baby, and she should abide by the standards you have set. Instead, she is dismissing you. And side note, your standards of cleanliness are correct. Ooh, the new mom. Tons of love and emotions, wanting to do the right thing, fear of messing the baby up, etc. I'd say you're equal a-holes here. LOL. While your mom is doing some a-holy things, like not putting sunscreen on your baby and licking the binky, she has the right idea. Exposing babies to certain things now helps build their immune system. On top of it, you're breastfeeding. Now the incomplete washing I totally get. Finding dried milk is gross. But complaining on what type of soap? Girl, save some money and buy one type of dish soap. If you want to use unscented on baby dishes, use it on all the dishes. But don't complain when someone offers to help with the dishes and uses the wrong one. That's an a-hole move. Say thanks. If she got all the dried milk and move on. Be thankful you have a mom who wants to help. Many people don't have that. Story 3. Hi Reddit, long-time lurker here about to break my Reddit silence. Sorry about any mistakes, I'm not a native English speaker. So, I'm 24 male, and in 2016, I had a chirurgical intervention on my left testicle. I had a blockage on the exit tube of the membrane that keeps your testes lubricated and prevents them from touching your scrotum. So after some time, I had a massive lump of accumulated liquid on there. Not really that comfortable. Long story short, I got it removed, and my doctor told me that people who develop this kind of affections are really prone to having another kind of condition, in which veins from the epididymis stop functioning correctly and swell, causing from no problem at all to really disgusting pain and discomfort. I'm in the middle. I can walk, but I can't run, jump, or even sleep on my side. Not even think about boxing again. This started about 3 months ago, so I live in a South American country where medical bills are as expensive as in the USA. So the operation would cost me an effing kidney, and I was unsure of trading a kidney for a testy. Anyways, my girlfriend, female 19, who I've been living with for a year and a half, has been really supportive with all of these. She has helped me schedule doctor visits, exams, was there with me for the diagnosis, asked the doctor all of the questions she had, thoroughly investigated my affection and the payment plans. Even she was the one who found a way for me to get the operation done at a fraction of the price. So I'm really thankful for her. All was going on its course until my mom asked me to be the person to accompany me to the operation. Mind you, since we are in a pandemic, you can only bring one person with you to the procedure. The clinic even made my girlfriend sign some papers to certify her as my company. But this didn't suit my mother. She went nuts, telling me that she was very hurt and that she would be better off dead, since I no longer need her in my life now that I have a girlfriend. So I simply told her that I didn't want to make an event of my surgical intervention, and that my girlfriend earned to be by my side, since she was the one to support me through these terrible months. She told me that she's my mother and she wants to be there. But I stayed firm with my decision, stated that my girlfriend would be the person that could assist, and dismissed the conversation. I'm scheduled for today at 14:30. It's 7:30 a.m. and my mom just left for work without saying a word to me. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Your girlfriend is the one who has supported you and found your solutions through this current situation. She should be the one to go. Your mom is being manipulative by saying things like she would be better off dead, and now giving you the cold shoulder. You are a grown man and you can decide who gets to support you. Not the a-hole. Your girlfriend supported you unconditionally up to now. She was the one who helped you with all your appointments and medical issues, and even helped you reduce the price of their operation. Your mother only wants to show some support now when she doesn't actually have to do any work, except showing up on time and sitting in the waiting room. Your decision to have your girlfriend with you was absolutely the right one under these circumstances. Not the a-hole. Not at all. First of all, I don't know what kind of surgery it is. Your girlfriend is the one who helped you through everything and helped set it up. Like you said, she earned a right to be there, and she even already signed forms saying she would be. Now, taking into consideration that it is surgery on your effing testicle, yeah, that is the girlfriend department, not your mom. That's like if she was getting breast implants and you insisted on being there instead of her husband or whatever she's got. I understand protective moms wanting to be there for their kids and stuff, but they have to realize there are some things they don't need to step into. You are not the a-hole, but good luck on your testicle, dude.